So someone said that the Jehovah's Witness wants to talk to us about Colossians 1:15. So let's see.
How you doing, guys? You right?
Pretty good. Are you the Jehovah's Witness?
I am, yep.
Welcome to the platform.
Cheers, man. So I was told to come here by some guy called Jordan. Been speaking to him over the last day, or I say day, like a couple of weeks. But he's having, he basically said, "I'll come speak to you guys, and you can hopefully answer my question." It's about Colossians 1:15. I'm sure you guys are well aware of our argument, or the Unitarian position.
Yeah.
Obviously, if Jesus is it calls him the firstborn of all creation, and therefore, by my understanding, he would be part of that group. He would be created as the first thing in all creation. Can I ask a series of questions before I actually make the main point towards what I'm saying?
Well, it sounded like you did make the main point.
You already did.
I have questions on that.
We got lots of questions. By the way, are you familiar with the Jehovah's Witness Greek Interlinear Bible on their website?
I'm not, but I'm not too fussed about obviously the New World Translation in the interlinear, based on the fact no Bible is perfect. So if there are slight mistakes, I'm not too fussed about defending them. I'm more here to speak about theology.
Oh, so you think that there's mistakes in the New World Translation?
No, I said no Bible is perfect. So there's no doubt mistake, because we don't know, we don't have the original copies, and nobody's a perfect translator. But can I ask my question that I had?
Okay, but hold on. But I want to know what source is authoritative for you. So if I show you a Jehovah's Witness source on this topic, it sounds like you're not going to take it seriously. It's like, oh, it can be a mistake. So what's an authoritative source for you if it's not the Watchtower organization itself?
Well, it's just when I do in my studies, I look at multiple translations, obviously including the New World Translation, but it's just multiple translations. For example, even in the Jehovah's Witness religion, we don't use just one Bible. If you were to download our app, you can download it includes the King James Version, it includes the Byington, the Rotherham, the New American Standard, I believe. So it's not just one Bible we use, there's multiple Bibles.
So is the Watchtower authoritative for you or no?
Authoritative in what sense? What, the translation?
Translation, interpretation.
Well,
what defines your belief?
The Bible is what I see as my authority. Obviously, the New World Translation is a good translation in my opinion.
So if the Bible disagrees with the Watchtower organization, you would...
Sorry, say that again?
If the Bible disagrees with the Watchtower organization, you would side with the Bible.
Yeah, but obviously I don't believe the Watchtower organization disagrees with the Bible. But can I speak about what I came here to speak about? Can I speak about what I came here to? Again, I was invited here because you guys can apparently answer questions.
Let's talk about Colossians 1:15. So,
Cheers, man.
1:15, you're saying that he's the firstborn of all creation. So let's start there.
But yeah, cool. So let me premise my main point, and that is by a simple question: who's the firstborn human? And it's not a trick question. It doesn't matter how you answer. Some people answer Adam, some people say Cain, some people even say Jesus. It doesn't really matter how you answer.
The firstborn human is the firstborn son of Adam and Eve.
So Cain. So why didn't you say an angel was the firstborn human, or a giraffe was the firstborn human?
Is an angel a human?
Perfect. So you would agree that to be the firstborn of something, labeled firstborn of a group, you have to be part of that group.
No. The context is what you're asking the question gives us a different definition of firstborn. Exactly. Firstborn, how you use it is defined by the context. Yep. Nice try though.
Well, what do you mean how you use it? So if somebody, the firstborn human, it doesn't have to be a human. You're basically saying.
Here's my question to you now. Who was the first king of Israel? Firstborn king of Israel.
Initially, it was King Saul. Then it was King David.
Wait. You said, so it had two firstborns?
Yeah, initially it was King Saul. He was the firstborn. Yeah, but prior to King Saul, there was no king of Israel.
So who was the?
And then the kingship was given to King David.
Yeah, but who's the firstborn king of Israel?
I just answered your question. It was King Saul. It's like saying who's the firstborn son of Isaac.
Oh no, you didn't answer the question. I'll ask it.
I did. It was Saul, and then it was King David. That's the answer to your question.
So was Solomon also the firstborn king? Was Solomon also the firstborn king?
No, he wasn't. Why would he be?
So how does your argument make sense?
Well, I'm not making an argument. Avery asked a question, I answered it, so I didn't make an
Yeah,
argument.
you're making an argument. You just don't understand what you're saying. So the argument that you're making is that whoever's the king of Israel, whoever has the kingship, is the firstborn. That's the argument that you're actually
No,
making.
that's not what I said. If you actually listen closely, I said that.
Yeah, I listened closely.
Well, how about let me explain what I just said? I said the kingship of Saul was passed to King David, and that's the case. It states that in 1 Samuel.
Warden, did I ask about the passing of the kingship? Is that what I asked about?
No, you asked me who was the firstborn king of Israel, right?
Yes, that was my question. So you
And I answered.
So that means both of them were.
So was Esau the firstborn son of Isaac?
No, just answer the question. Who?
I have
Firstborn son.
King Saul and then King David. So King David
there's
was
two
the firstborn.
firstborns.
Hold on, everybody stop.
Sorry, not
when you
firstborn
say
king
when you
of
say
Israel.
when you say it was King Saul, then it was David. That's you say. It sounds like you're saying that both Saul and David were the firstborn king of Israel.
No. I explained myself quite clearly. It
So
was
what
his
so are you
kingship
saying-
was passed
so
to
who
King
was the
Saul,
firstborn
was
son?
passed to
Who was
David.
the firstborn king?
Initially, it was Saul. Then his kingship was passed to David.
All right, thank you so much. I got
Saul
you.
was no longer the firstborn.
Got
It
you,
was
got
King
you.
David.
Wait. So you're saying that now David was also the firstborn king of Israel?
He became it. Yes, according to Psalms 89 verse
But hold on
27.
a second. Hold on a second. So Israel has two firstborn kings?
Yeah, one in a literal sense and one in a figurative sense. Again, I've already explained myself. I've already explained myself.
Wow.
Jacob and Esau, right? Who was the literal firstborn of Isaac?
It's okay. No, I got you.
No, you
so
got it, man.
so you're saying that
You're just ignoring what I'm saying,
firstborn-
basically.
that firstborn can be used literally and firstborn can be used figuratively. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've got no issue with that.
Got
That's
it.
correct.
And how do you know if firstborn is being used literally or if it's being used figuratively?
Based on the context.
Based on the context. Very good. Now that we got this out the way, let's go back to Colossians. Where in the context of Colossians tells you that Jesus is the literal firstborn of creation?
It's implied, as I expressed before, hence my question to you. I said, who's the firstborn human? You said only a human can be the firstborn human, right? Is
I
that
didn't
correct?
say that. I didn't say that.
Oh,
and you're not answering the
so
question.
you did say that. You did say that.
Your
You said
time-
only.
your
So
time
again,
is-
so
your time
I
is gonna
can
be
I can
very
ask you the
short,
same
Warden.
question.
Hey, Warden, your time is going to be very. Let me just tell you how this works, okay? Because I like long conversations. As long as the person is direct with me, as long as they're honest, and as long as they don't lie, and as long as they don't waste my freaking time. So I'm going to give it to you again. You have the floor. What in the context of Colossians 1:15 says that firstborn is literal? Go ahead.
So there's two ways. It's by the use of the word itself. Whenever somebody in the Bible is called the firstborn or something, they're always part of the category. There is not a single example in the Bible where somebody is the firstborn or something and they themselves do not belong to the category. Feel free to try and find me an example. You won't be able to find one. The second part, which would suggest that Jesus is applied literally, if you go to verse 17, well, if you actually read from verse 16, let me just guess up because I can guess up in front of me.
I'm waiting for this.
Do you know what? I'll actually read from verse 15.
We're waiting.
Yeah, I'm guessing up. Bear with me. So it says, the Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. The first word in verse 16 is the word hoti, H-O-T-I, which means because. It's a conjunction. So it's explaining
so
what
it's telling you
precedes
why
it, right?
he's called the firstborn of all creation. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's telling you why. So it says, for in him all things were created, the things in heaven and the things on earth, the things visible and the things invisible, whether they are thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through him and for him. But my point I want to make is in verse 17,
All
it
things
says
were
he
what?
is-
All things were
let
what?
me finish my point if you don't
No,
mind.
no. What did you say? Just repeat that part.
You
All
heard me.
things
I'm
were
pretty
what?
sure
What you said.
we were
Yeah.
made through
Just
him.
repeat that one part. Repeat that one part. I know
we're
that
made
you know that
through
it
him.
cooks you. All things were made through him. Okay, good.
Yeah. So in verse
Thank you for not
17, it
using
says,
your corrupt Jehovah's Witness translation. Thanks for disagreeing with
so
that.
if you can just let me finish, if you don't mind, again, you're interrupting.
Yeah, you
just let me finish.
keep saying that, and we're letting you finish, but you're not actually answering
You're
the
still
questions we're
talking.
asking you. Yeah, and you're not answering the questions.
I'm trying to, but you've interrupted me. So in then verse 17, it says, he is before all things. Now, obviously, him being before all things is a temporal statement. So if he's before all things, and the before all things serves as a temporal statement to explain why he's the firstborn, then the only way you can understand the term prototokos, the word firstborn, is in a temporal way, which would mean that he's before all things at a point in time. If you had 10 brothers and one of the brothers said, I'm the firstborn, and you asked that brother, well, in what sense? In the sense of preeminence or in the sense of a literal firstborn? And he said, well, I'm before all my brothers. You would always naturally understand the before to mean before in time. So that's what I would say.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question in light of this.
Please, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is Jehovah the first?
The first what, sorry?
Is he the first?
You'd have to qualify what you mean by the
He's the
first.
first and the last. Is he the first?
Yes, he is the first, yes. In that sense.
First what?
You just said in the context of the first and the last, so you're referring to Revelation 22, verse 13.
I'm referring to Isaiah, actually.
44
Yeah,
verse 6.
which is also in relation to the same thing.
Oh, okay.
So what's the first? You answer the question.
What's the
Instead
first?
of dancing around it, trying to guess what verse it is. What is
So
the
I would
first
say
mean?
he's the first God. That's what it's in reference to.
First God?
Yeah. So this is kind of switching topics now. Obviously, we're meant to be speaking about
hold on a second.
Colossians.
The first God, that's not what it says there. It says he's the first and the last. The first what?
Yeah, I said God. Based on the context of Isaiah, I would say he's the first and last God.
So hold on a second. Did creation come after God?
Yes.
So is he before creation?
Yes.
So does that mean that God is temporal because he's before creation?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, so
Exactly.
so when it says that
Your argument
Jesus,
just went out the window.
when it says that Jesus is before all things, that doesn't mean that he's temporal. It means that creation is temporal. He is without time, which is why he's before all things, just like
This is
God.
why this is why the scriptures say
that's-
before the mountains were brought forth, before all creation, from everlasting
You are
to
God.
everlasting, you are God. So the term before all creation is used specifically of Yahweh.
So are you denying that before is not a temporal statement?
It's not a temporal statement for God. It's a temporal statement for what comes after him.
But
Like creation.
yeah, but in that, yeah, but of course, I understand what you're saying. But in this context of Colossians 1 verse 15 to 16,
He's
17,
before all
if he's
things.
before it, yeah, he's before all things. But it's the all things that were made through him, not necessarily himself if he is a created being.
Wait, hold on.
So-
He's not a
But
created being.
that-
He's the creator of all things.
exactly.
That's begging the question. That's begging
No,
the
that's
question.
not begging the question. That's what the text says.
It's what you read.
That's why I had you
No,
read it
so
again.
it
before
says-
we started-
it says all
before we
things were
started
made through him,
complaining
but
about
made
me
through him
interrupting
by-
you. That's why I had you read the part again.
Yeah, so it says all things were made through him, right? But that's through
Yeah,
him by
all
God.
things.
So yes, all things which don't include himself. Like it says specifically.
Because he's not
it
creation.
That were made
says,
through him.
it says panta, not all other things. Panta, all things.
But all things. So again, like I said, all things that were made through him. He didn't make
No,
himself.
it
all
says
things that were made
all
through him.
things. It doesn't say all things that were made through him.
Exactly.
It
2
says
seconds, let me
all
guess out.
things
Let me guess
were
out.
made through him. He's the one who made all things. Here, my
Exactly.
friend. Do you know Greek syntax?
A little bit, not much.
So what is
That means
dia
no.
plus the so what does dia plus the genitive mean?
I wouldn't be able to answer that. So I know obviously.
So
dia means
let me tell
through.
you. So let me tell you.
This is a tough panel to have
Go
a
for it.
conversation, man. It's a tough panel to be a heretic, for real.
Exactly.
The tough
So
panel.
so this is a
Especially
dia
when
plus
you come
genitive.
with arrogance.
It's a construction meaning the genitive of intermediacy. That Jesus is the agent of creation. The Father created all things through the Son. He is the agent of creation. So if all things were created through Jesus, then he is not something that is created because he is the one doing the creating. If
So
all
again-
other things were created through Jesus, then that means you would have to put another word there, Allah or something else, other things. But that's not what the text says.
So I would.
Was made through him. All was made through him.
Yeah, so at the end of verse 16, all things were created through him and for him. So that all things relates to the things that were created through him and for him, like I've been saying the whole time. And you have to understand that again, I'm just reading the text. So at the end of verse 16, all things were created through him and for him.
You're adding things.
So what does it say at the end of verse 16?
Because it says, Hati in alto estikin ta panta. All things in him were made.
Exactly. And let me just confirm Black Doctor's point. I know you already threw the Watchtower organization under the bus, but in case there's any Jehovah's Witnesses who actually take the Watchtower seriously and don't throw them under the bus, let's read what they say about this. To confirm exactly what Black Doctor said, quote, a literal rendering of the Greek would be all things. However, such a rendering could give the impression that Jesus was not created, but was the creator himself.
What?
That's your Jehovah's Witnesses. That's the Watchtower organization admitting that. That's why I was checking if you're going to throw them under the bus before the conversation.
So I didn't chuck them under the bus. I said that no Bible is perfect. I said no Bible is perfect. Are you saying
this
that
is not a Bible?
There's
this
a Bible
is the
that's
notes.
perfect?
These are their notes. These are their footnotes.
Yeah, no, sorry. You said I chucked them under the bus, but that was in relation to my initial comments to you when I first joined this thing. That I said I'm not here to defend the New World Translation.
So do you accept or reject what your scholars have just said?
So no, because there's exceptions to all things in scriptures, even when
I said,
language is definite.
Do you accept or reject what your scholars just said? No wasn't an answer to that question.
So the fact that it could imply that Jesus is the creator.
Yes, when when you read it the way that the Greek tells
I
us
agree with the fact that it could imply. I've got no issue with it missing at face value. It seems to imply it, but if you would hear me out,
As
then
I was saying. So hold on. Recognize what you Warden. Listen. So let's recognize what you just said. If we read the text the way that Paul wrote it, it tells us that Jesus is the creator and therefore God, right?
No, not the creator. So in verse 16, but based on Colossians 1 verse 15, if we were to involve that, I would say no.
Alto estefe tapanta. For in him all things were made.
Yeah. So if you could let me actually make a response, a proper response.
In heaven, entois uranos, kai epites geis. In heaven and on earth, ta orata, kai ta a orata. Visible and not visible.
Are you guys going to let me speak?
Thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. So I'm asking you, Warden. So when Paul describes the things created by Jesus, he says things in heaven, things in earth, visible, invisible, thrones, dominions, rulers, authorities, ta panta. So is there anything in all of creation, because Paul exhausts the Greek language here in Colossians 1, is there anything that Paul says is not created by Jesus that came into existence?
If I start giving a response, it's 3-on-1 at the moment. If I start giving a response, am I going to be interrupted or am I going to be
Don't keep complaining. You're not going to last long if you complain.
I want a direct answer to my question.
I'm sitting in silence and listening to you guys speak. Yeah, I will, but obviously I don't want you to bite in after like 10 seconds.
Just answer.
Just answer the question and stop crying.
I'm trying to make sure I'm not crying. I'm simply saying I get to be given the opportunity to speak. That's it.
It's your floor, man. It's your floor.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Avery. Cheers. So all things in the text, even when the language seems to be exhausted, it still can have exceptions, and we can see this in other texts. For example, if you look at Hebrews 2 verse 7 and 8,
in this text, Warden.
So I got about 15 seconds there. So I'm using other texts to explain. It uses the same language. So if you can let me again give an answer rather than being interrupted.
Go ahead. Just go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you.
Go, bro.
I'm trying to. Oh my goodness.
This dude keeps complaining, bro. I can't deal with arrogance.
In Hebrews 2, verse 7, let me read from verse 6. It says, But one testified in a certain place, saying, "What is man that you are mindful of him, or the son of man that you take care of him? You have made him a little lower than the angels. You have crowned him with glory and honor, and set him over the works of your hands. You have put all things." So the same word there we see in Colossians 1 verse 16. You have put all things in subjection under his feet. And then it goes on to qualify what the all things means. For in that he put all in subjection under him, he left nothing that is not subject to him. So what does the all things mean? What does it encompass? Well, it means nothing has been left out. It includes every single thing. But we know that the angels weren't subject to him. God's not subject to him. It still has natural exclusions. So in the same way, when we look at the context of Colossians 1 verse 15, if it calls Jesus the firstborn of all creation, and then goes on to explain that all things have been made through him, there can be exceptions, Jesus being that exception. Even though the language seems exaltive, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the case.
Can I respond now? Because you just butchered Hebrews 2.
Yeah, and
You
please
can
keep
respond.
reading. And please
Yeah.
keep reading to verse 8, 9, and 10, because this completely buries his whole position.
That's exactly what I was about to do. Now, in
Watch
putting
how
everything
dishonest these
into
heretics are. How dishonest these heretics are. If you guys just keep reading, watch this.
exactly now in putting everything in subjection to him, he left nothing outside of his control. It's exclusive. But then he says, "At present, we do not yet see everything subject to him. But we see him who for a little while was made lower than the angels, namely Jesus, crowned with glory and honor because of the suffering of death, so that by the grace of God he may taste death for everyone. For it was fitting that he, for whom and
For whom?
through whom all
Huh.
things exist,
Okay.
Wait.
Why
In
would Warden
bringing
skip that
many
part?
sons
I
to
wonder
glory.
why Warden skipped that part. I wonder why he would skip that part.
So it affirms that it was for all things were created for Jesus and through Jesus by means of Jesus, in bringing many sons to glory, should make the founder of their salvation perfect through suffering.
So what does it have to do with the thing that there's exceptions? How does this,
So you're going to Hebrews 2 actually supports us.
Exactly.
so hold on. How does this negate the fact that all things has exceptions in
The
Hebrews 2?
the term everything as defined by Hebrews means that nothing is left out. Everything
this is in relation to
subject to
mankind.
Jesus.
No. So verse 7 is in relation to mankind. It's Hebrews 2 verse 6 and 7.
Who does the author to the Hebrews apply it to?
So you just said what you have to say. Can I respond?
No.
So
Actually, I didn't.
So I
no,
can't respond.
actually, I didn't.
Okay, cool.
So here.
Cool. So you've got the floor again.
To try to stop. To argue that Hebrews is talking about mankind when he literally applies it in verse 9 to Jesus as the direct fulfillment of this, because this entire thing is about Jesus. It has been testified somewhere, then he quotes the passage. He doesn't say anything about humanity. He says, Jesus, him who for a little while was made lower than the angels, namely Jesus. So, who are we going to trust? You, Warden, or the author to the Hebrews? Who is the author speaking about? Jesus or humanity? Now you can open up your mic and respond.
Man. Dude has been complaining the whole time that he can't talk. Now doesn't want to talk.
Now we let you talk and you won't say nothing. I invited you to open
my
your
mic was
mic.
off. I didn't realize I had to turn my mic on. Like first time on TikTok. So if you go to Hebrews 2 verse 6, as I read before, but there is a place where someone has testified. What is mankind that you are mindful of them? Most scholars, if you go to most commentaries say this is in regards to mankind. That's why it says we do not yet see all things subjecting to him, because it's speaking about mankind, because this is the full. What I was trying to say before you interrupted me was that this is an application of Psalms 8 verse 5, 6, and 7. And Psalms 8 verse 5, 6, and 7 is in relation to Genesis 1 verse 26, which is about God subjecting all things under Adam. Adam simply means mankind. So Psalms 8 verse 5, 6, 7, Genesis 1 verse 26 are all linked, and Hebrews 2 verse 6 and 7 are simply quoting this. So this is about mankind. Like I said, hence the reason why it says we do not yet see all things in subjection to him. Whereas verse 9 opens up, but we see Jesus. So it's changing from the fall of man in relation to all things being subjection to him, but then he fell into sin and they're no longer in subjection to him, to now Jesus being the last Adam and all things now being in subjection to Adam. So my case still stands. And the fact is, in Hebrews 2 verse 6, 7, and 7, all things were subjected under mankind, but that didn't include literally every single thing. It didn't include the angels, it didn't include God. And we can see that if you go to Psalms 8 verse 6 and 7, it qualifies what all things were subjected under mankind. It was the birds, it was the animals, the things in the Genesis account, not angels.
I'm going to say this one more time, or I'm going to ask this one more time. Who does the author to apply it to? Because it says he applies it as him, that they have crowned him with power and glory, which is the subject of the psalm. So who's the he in Hebrews 2?
2 verse 6 you're talking about?
Yeah.
So, 2 seconds. So he relates to Adam, and obviously Adam is just a term for mankind.
No, I'm asking in relation to the entirety of Hebrews 2. Who does the blessed apostle apply this psalm to? Because it doesn't say them, it says him. We read 6, 7, 8, and 9. So who's the him?
So it depends on what translation you read it from. Some translations actually say us, because it's referring to... Are you going to let me answer? Some translations, for example, the contemporary English version.
Well, when you're being disingenuous, I don't think it would be very hard for someone to be. So how am I being disingenuous for
saying that the contemporary English version says
the answer
us
is right? Because the answer is right in front of your face.
So again,
and then when we asked you, because we didn't when we pointed this out to you earlier, you didn't say, "Well, it depends upon the translation." You've been arguing from the same translation this entire time, and we've been arguing from the same translation this entire time. Then when I ask you something dealing with the translation we've been dealing with this entire time, the text, you say, "Well, it depends on translation." But
because there's multiple
Verse
reasons
9
why
makes it
I'm not sure
quite
I'm muted
clear
or this guy's just talking
whom
over me
he's
so
applying
much.
it to. Now who's interrupting? Now who's interrupting?
I'm trying to get in because you won't stop talking. If I'm honest with you.
Oh,
So,
You can just interrupt whenever you want to.
So you can interrupt. So hold on. You can interrupt whenever you want, but whenever apparently we're the ones wrong for interrupting you, whose live do you think this is?
Mister, this is my first time on TikTok. My first time on TikTok. Yeah, you know God Logic's name is Avery.
Yeah, because it's the first time I've spoken on TikTok and gone live on TikTok, but I've seen Avery before, so yeah.
That's I still don't get that we're getting away from the point. The point is clear.
I'm about to answer the question.
That the person whom he's applying it to is Jesus. Jesus is the subject of the psalm here, according to the author of Hebrews.
Again,
but we're getting away from the point. Period, because. Let's Colossians 1, 15, 16, and 17 uses the term tapanta.
What was that,
what was that, Logic?
Yeah, we gotta give him a chance. Let's give him a chance to respond.
Cheers. Again, I don't think it's me being disingenuous for saying stuff like the CEV translation and other translations, many other translations, render it as us, relating to humans, not just Jesus. Even if you look at verse 7 or 6, I think it's verse 7, when it says Son of Man, it uncapitalizes the Son in most translations. And the reason why I didn't bring this up, I didn't make the point of the us before, is because there's multiple reasons why it can be in relation to simply mankind. I mentioned it before about Psalms verse 8, 5, 6, and 7, and Genesis 1 verse 26. There's multiple reasons. I'm not going to shotgun them all at once. So that's the reason why I didn't bring it up before. But the point is, the term us is applied in some translations, and in some other translations it says mankind. Some other translations it says humans. Some of them it just says man. But the point is, in verse 8, it says, yet at present we do not see everything in subjection to them. That's reading from the NIV, which applies this to mankind. So the point is, if this is in relation to Jesus, then why does it say, yet at present we do not see everything in subjection to them, but we do see things that it made subject to Jesus? Because it's not about Jesus in verse 7 and 8. That's clear by the end of verse 8 and the context of verse 4, Psalms
I have
and
a
Genesis.
question then.
Yeah,
I
he
have a
forgot what
question
he was
then.
arguing. He just buried himself because he forgot what he was arguing.
Exactly.
That's what you said before.
But let's even still here. He makes the argument that in Hebrews chapter 2 verse 8 that it says we don't see everything in subjection to them or to us. Let's go to the Greek. What is alto? What's the parsing of alto?
It says, I'm looking at on the Bible Hub, it says the usage is he, she, it, they, them, same.
No, alto, alpha, upsilon, alpha, upsilon,
Strong's
tau,
846?
omega.
So I'm looking at the term, I think it's the lexical word of the same word that you're referring to.
No, you're just referring to the Greek term altos. I'm talking about the dative masculine singular form.
He basically just gave it away.
Okay, so yeah, I don't have that in front of me. I'm there, so it says to him. From what I can see, this is just one reference in Bible, which isn't always accurate.
Because it's the Greek designates it as a singular, not as a plural. In fact, when it quotes the Septuagint version of the Psalm, it's used anthropos, not anthropoi.
So I've got no issue with this in being in relation to one person. Like I said before, I believe when I usually speak to people,
you literally just argued that it wasn't, and that it means multiple of mankind.
If you just let me finish, you would know that that's basically what I'm saying. If you let me finish, so I usually argue that. I usually argue that this is in relation to Adam. But Adam simply means man. It's a general reference to mankind, but Adam is obviously in a single person. So it's in relation to Adam, but he represents mankind. That's why to him, I've got no issue with it being to him. I simply mentioned that other translations render it saying us or mankind or him or them. That I didn't make my main argument from there. I got no issue with it relating to one person, namely Adam, the person Adam. But things are no longer in subjection to Adam because he fell, but they are now in subjection to Jesus Christ.
So where does the author to the Hebrews say anything of that sort?
I've made it clear. If you go to Hebrews 2 verse 8, it says, yet at present we do not see everything in subjection to him. But that can't be the case because all things are made subject to Jesus. But then in the very next verse, in verse 9,
now you're trying to refute
but we
what the
do
verse
see
says.
Jesus who was made. I'm just simply reading what the verse says. It simply says.
You just read it and said that can't be the case.
No, yeah, in the case of. So it says, we do not see everything subjected to him. But has everything been subject to Jesus? Of course it has. So the verse can't be speaking about Jesus.
Wait, just really quick. So it has been testified somewhere, what is man that you're mindful of him, or the son of man that you care for him? You made him for a little while lower than the angels. You're saying that that's about Adam?
If you keep reading into the next verse, that makes it very clear, yes. So read the next verse for me.
You have crowned him with glory and honor, putting everything in subjection under his feet?
Finish it, now finish it.
Wait, is that about Adam or not?
No, so read verse 8.
I am reading verse 8. I'm asking, is this about Adam so far?
So, but you have, so yeah, this is about Adam, yeah.
Now,
so
in putting everything in subjection to him, he left nothing outside of his control. At present, we do not yet see everything in subjection to him. To Adam still? Same verse.
That's it, yeah, that's it, that's exactly it. We do not see things in subjection to Adam because he fell.
Wait, but it says yet. So it says that eventually you will see everything in subjection to Adam?
Sorry, what translation are you reading from?
This is ESV, man.
It's the same thing in the Greek.
Same thing in the Greek.
So I'm looking at the ESV right now, and it says, at present, we do not see everything in subjection to him. Yeah, so we don't see things in subjection. Yeah, at present, we don't see things in subjection to him.
So according to you, this is talking about Adam, and soon we will. So everything right now is under subjection to Adam, but we don't yet see it. And soon we will see how everything is subject to Adam.
It says he left nothing that was not subject to him. This is a reference to Genesis 1 verse 26, where it says, let us subject.
I'm going to ask again.
Go for it.
Verse 8 is about Adam. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So everything is under subjection to Adam.
That's correct.
But it says that, but for now, we don't yet see everything in subjection to him, but we will see it soon in the future.
No, it doesn't say we will see it in the future. It doesn't say that.
Well, it says yet.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
says
but
noon.
so-
The Greek phrase is noonday, which means not yet, and implies a future recognition.
So I'm looking at the same thing on, like, I'm looking at the NAS concordance. It says now, the present, just now, present, the present case. So it's saying at this time, right now,
It already says,
just
yeah.
now, even now, just at
present,
hand.
It says, at present, we do not yet see everything in subjection to him, implying that in the future, we will see everything in subjection to him.
That's reading from one particular translation from the ESV. For example,
No, this
read
is
from
what the Greek says. Do you want to see what
No,
it's
well,
what the Greek
hold
says?
on. Hold on. So I could read from another translation and say, well, this is what the Greek says. All translations are based on the Greek. So everything is what the Greek says. There's different ways you can
So
translate
according to
it.
the Greek, at present, that's what it says. We do not yet, correct? We do not yet see, right?
Yeah. But then what does it say in the
So
next
if
verse?
it's something that's not yet, that implies a future, right?
Not if you read the context of the next verse.
Thanks for coming.
I just want to emphasize another point. If you keep reading to verse 10, for it was fitting for him, for whom
For
and through
all
whom
things and through whom all things.
all things exist. There you go.
But
We
you guys read
spend
verse
all our
9.
time ignoring that part.
You guys read verse 9. So nothing is now in putting everything in subjection to him. He left nothing out of his control. At present, we do not yet see everything in subjection to him. Verse 9, but we see him who for a little while was made lower than the angels, who he said was Adam earlier. It continues, namely Jesus, crowned with glory and honor because of the suffering of death, so that by the grace of God, he might taste death for everyone. For it was fitting that he, for whom and by whom all things exist, in bringing many sons to glory, should make the founder of their salvation perfect through suffering. What a waste of time.
We pointed this out. We pointed this out earlier, but he spent most of his time trying to point it out that it's not Jesus. This is why I
Exactly.
was pressing him on it, and he kept crying that I interrupted him because he went away from the point and didn't answer the question directly.